Have you ever noticed how the most powerful lessons often come wrapped in simple stories? That's exactly what Jesus understood when he chose to teach through parables, short stories packed with deep spiritual truth. These weren't just entertaining tales. They were carefully crafted messages that would echo through centuries, changing hearts and minds across generations. Imagine yourself in ancient Israel, around 30 AD. The countryside is dotted with farmers tending their fields, shepherds watching their flocks, and merchants conducting business in bustling marketplaces. It's in this setting that Jesus began sharing his revolutionary messages through everyday scenarios his listeners would instantly recognize. Let's start with one of his most famous parables, the parable of the sower. Picture a farmer scattering seeds across different types of ground. Some seeds fall on a hard path and birds quickly eat them. Others land on rocky soil, sprouting quickly but withering under the hot sun. Some seeds fall among thorns, which choke the young plants. But the seeds that land on good soil produce an abundant harvest, yielding 30, 60, or even 100 times what was planted. Jesus explained that this simple story actually reveals how people respond to spiritual truth. The seed represents God's message, while the different soils represent various human hearts. Some hearts are hardened and unreceptive, like the path. Others initially embrace the message with joy but lack depth, like the rocky ground. Some are too distracted by life's worries and desires, like the thorny soil. But those who truly understand and apply the message produce abundant spiritual fruit. Another powerful parable is that of the prodigal son. Jesus tells of a young man who demands his inheritance early, essentially telling his father, "I wish you were dead." He leaves home, wastes everything on wild living, and ends up feeding pigs, a particularly shameful job for a Jewish person. When hunger drives him to rock bottom, he decides to return home, hoping to work as his father's servant. But here's where the story takes an unexpected turn. The father, who's been watching the road daily, runs to embrace his son, something elderly Middle Eastern men simply didn't do. He throws a celebration, giving his son the best robe, a ring, and sandals, fully restoring him to the family. This parable powerfully illustrates God's extravagant love and forgiveness for those who return to him. The parable of the Good Samaritan challenges our understanding of neighborly love. A man is attacked by robbers and left for dead. A priest and a Levite religious leaders pass by without helping. But a Samaritan, from a group despised by Jews, stops to help. He bandages the man's wounds, takes him to an inn, and pays for his care. This story shocked Jesus' original audience by making the despised outsider the hero, teaching that true love crosses social and cultural boundaries. Consider the parable of the hidden treasure and the pearl of great price. Jesus describes a man who discovers treasure in a field and joyfully sells everything to buy that field. Similarly, a merchant finds one pearl of supreme value and sells all his other pearls to acquire it. These twin parables teach that the kingdom of God is worth sacrificing everything to obtain. The parable of the mustard seed shows how something seemingly insignificant can grow into something magnificent. Starting as the smallest seed, the mustard plant grows into a large bush where birds can nest. Jesus used this to illustrate how God's kingdom starts small, but grows to impact the whole world. In the parable of the lost sheep, Jesus tells of a shepherd who leaves 99 sheep to search for one that's lost. When he finds it, he joyfully carries it home on his shoulders and celebrates with his neighbors. This story reveals God's heart for each individual and his joy when someone who was spiritually lost is found. These parables weren't just ancient stories, they continue to resonate today. When we worry about money, the parable of the rich fool reminds us that material wealth isn't life's purpose. When we're tempted to judge others, the parable of the unmerciful servant teaches about forgiveness. When we wonder if our small acts of faithfulness matter, the parable of the talents encourages faithful stewardship of whatever we've been given. Jesus' parables are masterpieces of storytelling that pack profound truth into simple narratives. They challenge our assumptions, transform our understanding, and invite us to see the world through God's eyes. These stories continue to teach, challenge, and inspire, proving that sometimes the deepest truths come in the simplest packages.